Hello and welcome back. We are going to be doing take 2 of Breaking the Stigma for Squire Patton Boggs. This is attempt number 2, just to get some practice in ahead of the tour dates in October and next year. Again, any fuck-ups, they'll happen as they are, and the recording will carry on regardless. But just so that people are aware, this is on my relatively new YouTube attempt. There will be more stuff coming, but in the meantime, I hope you enjoy the presentation and let's see how it goes. So, starting here, welcome. I just want to say thank you for Squire Patton Boggs, in particular Daniela from the Leeds office, who without her none of this would be happening. People may applaud me, but ultimately know that the applause should go out to Daniela for organising all the events and to all of you who are here for attending. So before we start, there we go.
This is a fair request, and I promise I will not judge any person only as a teenager. If you will constantly remind yourself that some of my generation judges people by their race, their belief, or the color of their skin, and that this is no more right than saying all teenagers are drunken dope addicts or glue sniffers.
So that's an outtake from one of my favourite songs, and a song that's been attributed me for a few years. And it is very much the same with mental health. We shouldn't judge people based on their mental health, and that is what Breaking the Stigma is all about. So, to introduce myself, I'm Andy Solkeld, or Andrew Solkeld, I never really know which one to say. I've lived a life of two halves, so let me introduce them both. So, I'm Andrew Solkeld. I'm a chartered accountant. I trained at PwC and specialised in corporate finance. Following various industry positions, I'm now a finance director and investor in a tech startup based in Leeds. You may not have heard of us yet, but you will soon. How'd I do? Professional, smart, confident, maybe a bit arrogant, but not too much? Now let's do the other one. Hi, I'm Andy. I'm a bit of a geek. I love board games. I live with my 1-year-old kitten Pika. Yes, she's named after a Pokemon. I have lived with and struggled with depression most of my life, and in 2017 it almost became too much for me and I almost ended it. I now speak on behalf of mental health to try and break the stigma attached to it in the professions. But anyway, which of those is more honest? Which of those is more correct to say? Which one do you connect with more? Why do we always introduce ourselves based on our profession and not about our personality? Breaking the Stigma started almost exactly a year ago on World Mental Health Day, and has just kind of exploded since there. It would be remiss of me to not mention Zaina Khan and her company Chakra Corporate, who were the first organisation that asked me to come and talk to them. I'll tell you the full story later, but for now know that absolutely none of this was planned on my part. So, I'm getting this out of the way now because it's pretty much all I want to talk about. I've written a book. I've written a fucking book about my life, and it's getting published next year. And it's surreal. It's called Life is a 4-letter Word, and it's a mental health survival guide for professionals. It's based on my own experiences through practice and industry with large corporates and startups. And you will hear parts of it today, but not in anywhere as much detail as I go into in the book. It's got useful advice, various things I do to cope with stuff, and it just generally tells an honest story. I don't want to bring it up during the talk, so I will try not to, but just know that it is happening. And as always, please please feel free to like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that little bell icon. You know, it all really helps. Right, so back to Breaking the Stigma. As you'll have noticed, I'm using memes. Don't worry, it's intentional, and I'm so fucking glad that they are exempt from Article 13. Otherwise, I wouldn't be comfortable doing this in a room full of lawyers. Today I'm talking about my journey and my story. Sadly, it's pretty boring. I'm an accountant. What can I say? I've got to keep it interesting, but also I've got to keep it accessible. And mental health is a deeply personal topic. No person, no individual has the same experience with mental health as one another. Similarly, it's so complicated that it's very hard to describe what's going on in your mind and in your life with it. So this is a way for me to simplify it and to make it more accessible to anyone around. But again, finally, before we begin, I mean, this is just like bloody Lord of the Rings, isn't it? Where there's 10 million endings. I've got 10 million starts, or false starts. Before we begin, I'm putting this up here because I might come across as confident, light-hearted, maybe even funny. You might warm to me as a speaker or as an individual. Probably not likely, but understand that I don't feel confident about this. I feel like a failure and a fake in my life. I don't believe I'm the one that should be in this position talking about experience and what it means. I'm just some fucking guy from Leeds. I had a shit time and I've just started telling people about it. However, one of the things that is important is why I came to do it. And that's because when I openly said to the world that I suffer from depression, I'm medicated, and I was suicidal, know that this is what that sort of person can look like. It's not about crying or weeping or acting like a Disney princess and falling on a rock. Woe is me. You can look confident and happy and outgoing and still suffer. And that's why I'm here today, because when I said all this to the world, no one believed it. And it's why I've written a book about it. No one thought it of me, not my friends, not my family, no one at all. I'd hidden it all under fake smiles, fake confidence, fake chauvinism, and wore that mask to work every day. So I'm here to hopefully encourage other people to talk, because if we all are involved, we can eventually build a more mentally healthy culture for all of us. And now on to the main subject. So let's begin. Typical day in the office, right? It's how I felt every single day. Regardless of what was going on, it was always the same. Now, whilst I wasn't tossed out of a window, it felt like a good option at times, because having any sort of social life or just life outside work was frowned upon, but not actively frowned upon, no. It was passive aggressive to the extreme. So, little story. You'll find out I like telling little stories. I was once at an audit client. Boo hiss, I hear all the companies in the room say. I received a phone call, and it was from my friends, and they said, "Do you want to come out for dinner as a birthday surprise?" And I was like, fucking hell, who knew boys could be so kind? But anyway, I said to the manager on the job, I was like, right, I'm going to go out for dinner tonight. It's my friends. I'm going to be heading off at X time. I'll catch you later. You know the response I got? Oh yeah. What? You're going out for another meal to celebrate your birthday? You went out last night with your parents. Sure, I guess. We'll pick up the slack in your absence. I mean, seriously, what? I wasn't asking you, I was telling you. It's my time and I get to choose how I spend it. My workload and mine to balance. I don't need you to do that for me. But, oh my god, the worst part? Being made to feel guilty for having fun and for having a life. And this isn't just for seeing friends. This can be taking part in sports, maybe even having children. The presenteeism culture that is present in modern workplaces can just strip the fun out of life. And I needed to balance it somehow. And just like that, it was perfectly balanced. There was only work left. Professional accountant man Andy had won, or Andrew, should I say. So, here's some fairly harsh facts about professional services. We are parasites on other businesses. We need their success or failure for us to exist. The quality of our work and its abidance by law is assumed. Everyone, at whatever level in the organisation you are, is completely replaceable. And we are Darwinian. The strong survive and the weak perish. So how do we differentiate? With our people. But our people can't be too different, can they? Because we can't have loose cannons in front of clients. That could scare them away. So why am I saying this? Well, I'm not an old boy. I'm not a member of a rugby club. I don't watch football. I don't even know how to swing a golf racket. Club. Sorry. I'm someone who is a little bit odd, a little bit quirky. I value myself on being different and having a breadth of experiences, being a generalist rather than a specialist. I'm saying this honestly. I experienced a lot of workplace bullying because of being so different. Whether it was for my taste in music, or my hobbies, or my love of like little things like cryptic crosswords. I mean, heck, I was bullied for my weight. I was bullied for my hair. All right, that one's fair. My hair's shit. It's not changed in like 20 years now, if not more. But throughout my career, I was bullied. And I can remember every incident vividly. But this isn't a witch hunt. I'm not going to tell you their names. Admittedly, I know exactly who they are, where they work, and what they're doing right now. But I bet they don't remember any of this. Bullying lasts with the person who gets bullied, and it can be with you a lifetime. Now, also remember that this is fundamentally part of the collegiate system we work in, but that doesn't make it wrong. As I said, it's not wrong, this is just what it is. And just because it wasn't right for me doesn't mean it's not right for other people. And that's something to be very aware of. But anyway, don't worry about it. So you're a little bit different, out on the fringes of all the cliques that exist. Don't worry about it. So you made a spelling mistake in that draft of a document that went to a client and it came back. Don't worry about it. So there was a rounding error in an equity schedule. Don't worry about it. So you only spent 2 hours reviewing the audit file of a FTSE 100 listed entity. Don't worry about it. Nope, nope, and nope. We are not the sort of people that do not worry about it. We take pride in our work, and as such, we will worry about it. So why are we working so hard? Why do we worry so much about what's going on? Well, it comes down to competition. And there is a lot of increasing competition in the marketplace. From all directions, there's new entrants, there's margin pressure from increasing salary demands. Whatever it is, the need to stand out and win work is at an all-time high. So how do we do that? Well, we can't compete on quality, that's assumed. We can't differentiate too much by our people because that could scare the client. We can't lower our prices because we're a professional service firm. So how then? I can absolutely hear the bullshit brewing. We put ourselves in our client's shoes. We put clear blue water between us and the competition. Basically, we do more work and don't bill you for it. And yes, I've done this hundreds of times over. A simple question about what would happen if this, or what could the client think about why, you will go down a rabbit hole. You will disappear into thought processes, trying to second guess what that client is thinking about, having absolutely no idea about how the industry works because, you know what, you don't work in it. So you end up second guessing yourself and second guessing your boss, all of whom are trying to second guess the client. So you'll spend 5 days analysing something that could have been answered with a really simple phone call to the client and gone, hey, does this matter to you? Does it really matter to you? Would you like us to do some work on it? Or just say, you know what, I don't think they care about this tax rate changing. Just a bit, just thinking outside the box. The process is exhausting. But anyway, we get out of work, finally. We can do what we want, not necessarily when we want, but what we want. Oop, right, don't click there. So we need to go back. That's fine, so that one fades out by itself. Not in the slightest. Because we're constantly challenged and questioned and made to think about things, we're constantly looking at what we've accomplished, but not in the good way, in the, oh, I wonder what if they interpret it this way, I wonder what if they think about this, and the panic sets in, and you start thinking, oh crap, do I need to send that follow-up email? Should I get back in touch with them? Should I send something or try and cancel it? And then the phone buzzes. Shit! We're contactable 24/7. Oh, hi, I just wanted to check you've spotted the typo on page 15. Oh, it is relentless. There is only 1 hour of the day when I haven't received an email or a phone call or a text message from a partner, and that is between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. And I have no idea what's going on there, but that is your time to actually get some rest, if you can forget about it. But the important thing to realise about all of this is it's our choice. We choose to do this to ourselves. So think about it. The next time you're on an evening and stressing about something that happened during the day, you are choosing that. And it's okay, but just understand that it is a conscious choice. So, this is a problem for me, mostly because not that many people say nice things anymore. And people have started taking to saying really nice things about me. The comments that were left in response to my first article called Breaking the Stigma made me cry. The comments from people who proofread my book made me cry. Have I told you that I've written a book already? I don't see myself as anything special. I'm just some guy who's willing to tell his story. I can't tell if people are being genuine or are saying these things because they think it's what I want to hear and don't want to hurt me. In fact, in various emails, people have now started saying that. where they say, look, I know your inner critic is going to tell you that this is false and that this shouldn't be, and that they're just saying what you want to hear, but take this honestly. I mean, the fact people have to say that really shows how little we give compliments anymore. So, let's take this. Thank you for the hard work. What I hear is, do you think I'm weak and need acknowledgement? Do you think I could have worked harder? Do you think that I don't work hard the rest of the time? Do you think that that the work was easy but I made it hard? Are you just being sarcastic? It's just some of the thoughts from a work context. So now let's take it outside of work. You are beautiful. Okay, that's a compliment. People like being told they're beautiful. But wait. Do you think I'm not confident and need reassurance? Do you think I'm beautiful because of the makeup I'm wearing? Do you think I'm beautiful without makeup on? Am I only beautiful today and not the rest of the time? Do you think I'm putting it in too much effort to what I look like? Are you coming on to me? Do you think that I'm just pretty and beautiful and there's no substance underneath? Fuck my life. I'm just trying to be nice. We're just trying to be kind. If I call you beautiful, know that I mean it. So, for our first lesson of today, and it is a lesson, there will be points. There's no test at the end, don't worry about it. Make a habit of saying thank you. Make a habit of letting people know they've done a good job, even if they've not necessarily done a great job. Let them know they're valued, because even if they're rewarded and they're doing their job as expected, they may not feel any value from it. That's where I was, and that's what took me here. I took that critical line of thinking, and I took it a step too far. I ended up questioning myself, my capabilities, those around me, colleagues, acquaintances, friends, and I started isolating. And I was asking myself whether my friends liked me. Did they just want me around for some superficial reason? Was it because I was willing and able to pay for the first round of drinks? Was it just because we'd known each other so long, and to keep up the charade of it and letting go would be harder? Was it just out of convenience? But then going further, I started questioning whether my family liked me. We don't necessarily share hobbies or pastimes. We don't enjoy the same things and ultimately live in different times and are part of different generations. Yes, they love me. I know that. But do they actually like me as a person? Do they respect me for where I've ended up in life? I ended up alone, and I was not well. So quickly after the first point, here is the second. It took me almost 25 years to find this one out. Stop saying, I'm fine, when you're not. Stop saying, yeah, I'm okay, when you're not. Start talking about how you feel and what your emotions are and what's going on in your life. Because if you don't, they can build up. And if you don't, you can very well end up here. So take a minute, breathe it in, maybe. This meme's as honest as it is. I started turning my back on everything I cared about. My friends, my family, my loved ones. I didn't know what was causing it, but it was real. The pain just kept existing, and then the numbness started consuming. I can tell you openly now that I've been in this exact place 3 times. They're all very different, yet also all very the same. So let me go on from here and try to explain what depression means to me, why I can talk about it like I do now, why I'm willing and able to stand up on a stage and tell you about it, and why I can even write a book on it. Have I told you that? So, when I talk about mental health, I'm mainly talking about depression because that is what I am diagnosed with. I've struggled with bits of anxiety, have had panic attacks, but I honestly believe that was just depression manifesting itself in me in other ways. I was first diagnosed with it somewhere between 2014 and 2015, although in hindsight and looking backwards, I can see the symptoms running throughout my entire life. I don't blame anyone for it. There is no one to blame for it. This is who I am, and it's part of me, and I accept that. Now, in 2017, following a number of significant changes to my life, it got really bad. Mostly, it was triggered by my ex-wife Debs leaving me as she came to terms that after 11 years together, 12 months of individual therapy, and then working together for around 6 months, that she was now a lesbian and that our relationship was, I say now, no, she was always, it was just not present. And that our marriage was over. And at that point, my life fell apart. I vividly remember her coming home one day, speaking to me in the kitchen whilst I was cooking. It was mouth-watering halloumi, pine nut and pesto pasta dinner. Everything made from scratch apart from the pasta. I like cooking and I'm pretty good at it. She said she was 90% sure it was over and that we'd never be able to work things out and that she was going to leave. And I broke down then and there in the kitchen. I couldn't do anything. I made it as far as the bed, and then I proceeded to miss my closest friend's daughter's naming day the next day, where I was meant to talk, and I just couldn't make it because I was in so much pain. And remember, at this point, it wasn't just Debs I lost. It was the future that we were building together. We were redecorating our house that we owned together. Gone. We had 2 amazing cats, Sky and Roxy. Gone. We were going to grow old together and live our lives together. Gone. We were even trying to have children together. Those 2 little children that I dreamed about us raising, gone. Suddenly, my future and everything in it was gone. Now, someone asks me what depression is like, I say this. Depression is a heavy, numb emptiness in your very being. It consumes your personality, your emotions, and your feeling. It doesn't just remove the happy ones, it removes the sad ones too. And it leaves you numb, inside and out. It's all just gone. So, just to lighten things up after a very miserable monologue there, Debs and I are actually quite good friends still. We sold the house, the divorce finalised, we did it without lawyers, so no fees for you lot, and we've actually got through it, and I've come to terms with it and I'm happy with it, but that doesn't change how you feel at the time, and that's the important thing here, is it's about dealing with these sorts of things at the appropriate time. But anyway, back to the misery. So, this is where I got to with all that pain. Breathe in. This is generally where I was. Assuming we're in Leeds, you will probably know where KPMG is and where that Q Park is. This slide was made on the very computer and monitor where I was researching how to do this. For those wondering, I settled on the former of the options. And do you want to know why? Because I didn't want to leave the house. I was too ashamed to be around people, too embarrassed to potentially have to explain what was going on. I also didn't want people to have to clean up my mess. And it was, it just wasn't, it didn't feel right to do it that way. So I started putting plans into motion. I started figuring out where to do it, how to do it, how many belts I needed to secure around my neck, and basically started in the process of it. And I still remember it. I still think about it. So what changed? What saved me, as they will say? Well, here's the thing. I can't, this bit's a little bit blurry. I can't remember it perfectly. A little bit preoccupied trying to kill myself. But I got a message, whether it was a text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, whatever. I paused for a second. It was my best friend. Now, she's been my best friend longer than I've known Debs, and she had gone through something pretty shitty the year before. Not the whole marriage and lesbian thing. I definitely win the baggage challenge here. But I heard herself say to me, "You selfish bugger, don't you dare fucking do that. There are those of us out there who need you." And then I looked at the phone and it just said, "You good for the pub next week? Or next month?" Or whenever it was. But in that instant, I was reminded that there was someone out there who wanted me around and wanted to see me, even when I was at my lowest of lows, even when I'd shut everyone out. There was still someone who cared about me enough to want to see me. And in that moment, things changed. It wasn't all of my friends, it wasn't all of my family, it wasn't my job or anything like that. It's just a simple reminder that there are people out there that want you. And my mind switched gear. I wanted to do something, make sure, one, I never felt this way again, but two, other people didn't feel this way again. Because it's a horrible, horrible place to be. And I wanted to do something to help stop that. I didn't know what, and I stopped researching how to kill myself and started thinking how I could make a difference. Now, before we move on to what follows, I'm still depressed. I still have depression. I still take my medication every day. I still carry that with me, but I control it now. It doesn't control me. Yes, there are good days and bad days, but I am stronger now knowing that this happens and this is part of me, rather than trying to fight it alone. I've shared it, and now it is easier to carry. So, one thing I realised is you can't really worry about the future if you weren't going to have one. So I started talking very openly about my mental health. Now, I started with my kind of gaming communities and my hobbies, and I started speaking out openly. And I said, as part of a bit of a kind of charity raising thing, also a bit of a challenge myself thing, that if we could raise some money, I would get a tattoo. Now, that's not a big deal, but bear in mind, I am terrified of needles. I have had fillings done without anaesthetic. That's how much I hated needles at the time. Now, obviously, because the internet's full of masochists, or is it sadists? Can't remember. Need to look that up. We obviously passed, and I obviously needed to get a tattoo. One of my close friends, who's a tattoo artist, did it, and I almost fainted on his table or bed, however you want to describe it. But I did it, and now my tattoos, as you can probably see, have become quite a large part of my life, simply because they allow me to keep the memory of all the things I love on me and all the reasons I want to stay in this world. And now I literally cannot forget them because they're right here. I designed them all myself. They're everything I care about. There's loads of stuff documented about what they mean, but do feel free to ask. So then how did I end up doing this? New slide. This one's not been in Breaking the Stigma before. But this is what I was worried about. Whether me talking about my mental health would essentially kill my career. And it didn't. So I openly published an article called Breaking the Stigma, that this talk is named after, to my professional network on LinkedIn. And then I was asked to talk. Thousands of likes, tens of comments. It was incredible what happened. And suddenly, my entire world has changed. And the one thing I will say to you is this, is that being able to talk about your mental health is a strength. Being able to ask for help from someone else is a strength. Showing your vulnerability is a strength. And being able to be honest about who you are to yourself and to other people is a strength. So don't ever feel that by telling people that you're struggling or that you are having a hard time or that you don't know what to do is a weakness, because it isn't. People have now actively chosen to work with me. In fact, that's the very reason I'm here today. Daniela came to one of my talks and has now asked me to do this for you all. But back to where we were. I stopped giving a shit. And what I realised in this is that if you want to do something, do it. And if you don't want to do something, don't do it. So here's the penultimate point for today, and it's a doozy. Life is inherently unfair. Disney lied to us. The universe owes us nothing. The universe does not balance out your net positives and net negatives in your life so you end up neutral. It just doesn't. We like to believe it would, but it doesn't work like that. But in knowing it's unfair, that's also positive. Why, you might ask? Well, just because you're in a bad place now, just because things aren't necessarily going your way, and it may have been like that for a while, you don't know how long it's going to last, because it's not like you've had 5 ups so you're due 5 downs, or you've had 17 downs and you need to have an up, or however. So if you don't know what's coming, why not at least see what could happen? The upswing could come tomorrow. It might not, but you never know. So what I have come to believe is live in the now. Forget the past, forget the future. What's important is now. So, just to summarize everything, mental health is a personal journey that will last a lifetime. I suffer depression, I'll likely always suffer it, but that's something I've accepted. It's comforting in a way because I now know this about myself, and my relationship with myself has gotten stronger than it's ever been. One of my closest friends said to me that the relationship with yourself is the longest one you'll ever be in, so you've got to settle in for the ride and get comfortable. So, in the theme of what we're talking about, I started finding my way towards a better and more comfortable life by embracing it. For good and for bad, doesn't matter. Not everyone has to stand up here and tell you a story of their lives. Not everyone has to give a presentation or get it tattooed on their arm or anything like that. None of you have to write a book on it. Everyone's journey is a personal one. Everyone's mental health is an individual experience. But just because it's individual and just because it's personal doesn't mean you're alone. You're never alone when facing these things. And that is the final point for today. No one is alone. So, we go on to Ask Me Anythings now. When I do these online, they generally are Ask Me Anythings, and by all means, ask me anything today. I have answered the sublime to the ridiculous, but generally just feel free to ask questions about the talk or whatever you would like. And then we move on to the final slide, which is this. And I've added, now I can talk about my book, because I can. Thank you all very much for attending, and I look forward to meeting you in the networking, drinks, etc. afterwards. And that is the Breaking the Stigma presentation for today. Hopefully it worked. I'll have to watch this back and see, but generally that came across well. I need to get a couple of the transitions down, but felt positive. I would really appreciate any comments or feedback or anything like that, so do feel free to leave comments. Remember, like, subscribe, hit that little bell icon. I don't really give a shit. This is more about helping people than it is about anything else, so just let me know if you think it can be improved at all, and I look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you very much, and I will see you soon. Thanks.